Hi, Abayemi Olasokami again. Welcome to this session. In this session, I will be showing us how we can clean a raw data and go around making it useful for the process of data analysis. What you are seeing on my screen is a Microsoft Excel worksheet. So this particular worksheet contains data from the internet, which is a demo data of a particular hospital, but it's not a true data. It's a demo data, and it was collected from the internet. So this is a raw data, and you can see how it is looking. You can see a lot of blank spaces, empty spaces. You can see how it is looking. The question is, how do we go about extracting information from this particular data set? So let's start from the beginning. The first thing is that if you have a data set, you must know where the data comes from and also what the data represents. So let's look at this place. This is a date column. So this column represents the date. So apparently this is like the attendance of patients for that particular hospital, and it is collected based on the daily activity. So there is the number of patients that came to the hospital for a particular day. So the first thing to look is that, okay, if this is data for daily activity and the data also was for a particular year, so the data was not collected in 2022. However, I changed it to 2022 just to make it a demo data. So the first thing is that, okay, the data was collected throughout the year, so we expected 365 days at least. So let's look at this data. This is the first row. So let's look at the number of the last row. So the last row is 366. So 2 to 366 make 365 days. So which means that this is a data for a whole year, and each row represents a day. So that is very, very important. So because assuming we check now and we see 367 days or 350 days, then we can know that something is wrong somewhere. That the data was not collected completely, or there were some days when the hospital did not open for that particular year. So that is where we want to start from. Let's go up again. Another thing I want us to notice is that there are a lot of blank spaces in this data set. So all these blank spaces are not going to allow our software to give us the best when it comes to this data. So when we are analyzing data, usually we want to eliminate all these blank spaces by either putting something there or by removing the blank spaces. So in this condition, I cannot remove the blank spaces, because if I say let me remove the row, if I remove this row now, I will remove almost every row in this data set. If I say let me remove the column, then I will remove, in fact, every column in this data set is important. So, and we have to look for another alternative. But before we move forward, another important factor is that we must know what each of the variable in our data represent. So usually when you get a data set that is new, it comes with what is called a data dictionary. So a data dictionary is that particular document that contains everything about the data, from how it was collected, and the name of every variable, that is every column. Like this alert, what does it represent? This ACC, what does it represent? This BE, what does it represent? This is GP, this is auto, this OPATA, this is cardio, this is gyne. So what do they represent? So for this particular data set, this align to RKY represents different insurance company that the patient belongs to. So which means that on the first of this particular year, 11 patients came and they belong to Allied Health Insurance Company. On that particular day, no patient came that belonged to ACC Insurance Company. And the same thing goes for BA. Now, this from here, this is GP. So these are all the patients that were seen by GP on that particular day. This is auto, this is after cardio, gyne, and then the sex of the patient. So on this there are 8 patients who were male, while another 8 were also female. So we believe that 16 patients were seen on that day. And then we look at the age category of those patients. So adults were 14, and then teenager, only one teenager, only one school age, and then under 5. So for example, I was able to know that this represents a teenager and this represents school age because I knew the data before. Assuming you do not know the data, so we have to do something like this. So this will allow us to see everything here. Also something like this, which allow us to also see everything here. So, and this is why domain knowledge is very, very important in data analysis. Like I said before, and based on one of the links that was in the previous session, you can see the importance of domain knowledge. You cannot analyze a data that you do not understand. And some of those understanding will come from your domain knowledge of where the data was collected from and the kind of activities that generate the data. So, and then this is the number of admission for that particular day. So like this day now, there was no admission on this particular day. There was no admission on this day. There was 1 admission here. There was 2 admission here. So, and this is where we are going to start before we can do anything tangible with this data. So we can say that this is a data set of the hospital attendance for a particular year. And we can say that there are how many categories? So the category of the HMO that the patient belongs to, and then the type of doctors that the patient saw, that is the second category, the sex of the patient, or let's say the gender of the patient, that is the third category, and then the age group of the patient, that is the fourth category, and whether the number of patients that were admitted, that is the fifth category. So usually we can have all of this in one table like this, but for a very big company, you do not want to have everything in just one table. So each of these categories would have been in one table. So there is a way we can convert this particular table now into 4 different tables, and we are going to link them together, and that is what we call relational behavior of a structured data. So this is an example of a structured data, because you can see that everything is inside the rows and columns. So we have the columns, and then we have the rows. And that is why if you have a small institution, you can do all of this in this particular way. But if you are going to have a big institution, it's going to be better to put each of these components in a particular table differently, and then link those tables together in one way or the other. So having understood the data and the context in which the data was collected, let's look at the first thing. So different people will approach data cleaning and transformation in different way at different time, based on what is comfortable and what is convenient for them. But for this particular task, the first thing I want to do is that I don't want to be seeing all these empty cells again. So how do we do that? So what I'm going to do is that, like I said before, it is either I remove them or I put something there. So in this particular occasion, I cannot remove them, or else I will have to remove all my data sets. So I will put 0 into these values. So how do I put 0? So you can see how that's going to be done now. So how am I doing this? Don't bother yourself for now. In our next course on Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets, I'm going to be teaching you how to do all of this. So as you can see, I have put 0 into every blank spaces here, everything. So, and then if you look at this page, you can see that this particular column, it does not belong to the data set, but in one way or the other, the software has added 0 to it. So what will I do? I will remove it. So this is a redundant column. So I will remove it. So I will delete. So good. And then I will come back again. Now, like I said before in the session, that before you start cleaning a data set, you must have a backup. So for this particular data set now, I have a backup. And so I have a backup in another workbook, and those workbooks, like one of them is kept on a cloud platform and another one on my computer. So like I said, you do not want to start cleaning a data without having a backup. At least have a backup in like 2 locations. So that is that about that. So at this point, we have been able to look around the data sets, and we have been able to validate that the data was complete for the year. And then we have been able to look at the data sets to see what it represents, and we have also been able to eliminate all the blanks by inputting 0 into them. So this is the first session. In the next session, we are going to look deeper into this data and see how we can clean it further and make it useful for analysis. At this point, it is better, but it is still not ready for analysis yet. Thank you very much. Until we meet in the next one.